The NBA offseason is well and truly underway. It took a while to get going, if we're being honest, but today is draft day, and we've already had a couple of major deals go through. One, of course, involving Mr. Antetokounmpo, and we're going to get into all that, but today is draft day. Very intriguing, very exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing where some of these guys are going to go. It is deemed, of course, I don't want to say it necessarily a generational draft class, but it is a very deep draft class, especially when you compare it to next year's class. There's a lot of quality, especially into the teens and 20s of this first round. So it's going to be interesting to see how the picks after number 4 pan out, because that's where the draft really starts. Let's be honest, after 4. But we'll have to see as far as trades are concerned. So, the Greek Freak saga has come to an end. The era of Giannis in Milwaukee has come to an end, unfortunately. It has been well over a year now where this trade has been discussed in some sort of shape or form. I think the relationship between Giannis and the Bucks organization has been damaged for a good while now, and this trade could have definitely gotten done earlier. Last off season is when Shams sort of put out that first tweet. I think I was right around the lottery that Shams put out that tweet about. It was basically a non-report. All it was saying is that Giannis is open to playing outside of Milwaukee for the first time in his career, and when you read that, you're like, okay, well, yeah, sure, but that doesn't mean anything has happened yet. And as we all know, this thing sort of just dragged out for an entire calendar year. Now we finally get it done. I say we, it's the Heat. The Heat win the Giannis sweepstakes in exchange for Tyler Hero, Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Kasparas Jakuchunas, 3 first-round picks, including the 13th today, which is interesting because the Bucks now have number 10 and number 13. And what was it? Pick swaps and a second rounder. A pick swap and a second rounder. So there you go. I think all things considered, Giannis is 31. I think this is a pretty decent return, especially when you consider what other superstars have been traded for. Let's just say out of Dallas, there was a notable one, I think about a year ago. I think he went for 1 first-round pick. I don't remember, but anywho, when you consider that, this is a pretty decent return. With those 2 first-round picks, today they have Kel'el Ware, Jaime Jaquez Jr., Ryan Rollins. That's like a pretty decent young core. I imagine that they try to offload Miles Turner as well. Maybe they can flip Tyler Hero to a team like Detroit or somewhere. They can get some draft capital for him as well. And then before you know it, they've got a really solid group of young players. that they can sort of go into this next era with Taylor Jenkins as head coach. And it's as a basketball romanticizer, it's kind of sad that Giannis isn't going to finish his career in Milwaukee. It's always unfortunate when guys can't finish their Hall of Fame careers with the team that drafted them. But then again, it may be just an unrealistic expectation from someone like myself. I mean, when you consider Kobe and Dirk were probably the only ones. Well, yeah, they were the only ones. We talk about Hall of Fame player, played all of their career for one team. That's extremely rare. And so, unfortunately, we're not going to see it with Giannis, but he now goes to the Heat, which I'm sure is a great situation for him and his family. Miami is nice, but as far as title aspirations, I'm not so sure. I don't think he's better set up to win in Miami than he was in Milwaukee. Call me crazy, but I think, listen, now being paired with Bam Adebayo defensively, that is scary for sure. But offensively, I think it's going to be an awkward fit. You're going to have two non-shooters out there. Who knows, with Davion Mitchell, maybe three. They definitely still have some moves to make, Miami, if they want to be true contenders in the East. They're certainly not going to be better than the Knicks. And, again, they did significantly gut their roster with this trade. I mean, those are a lot of role players who are contributed. And I'm just saying it's gonna be hard to sort of fill out that roster with high level minimums. You know what I mean? So yeah, as of right now, Miami, they have a pretty looking starting five, but there's not much coming off the bench for them. And again, I think Bam Adebayo and Giannis, it's not like a natural 1-2 punch. It's not something that I would have dreamed of as like an ideal pairing. It's intriguing for sure, but I don't think, again, it's sort of just, this Miami team right now is sort of just looking like a different version of what Giannis had in Milwaukee. With Miles Turner. I don't know. It's just the talent isn't really there, in my opinion. It's not a deep enough team. But we'll see. We'll see. Giannis obviously stays in the East. That's pretty significant for Western Conference teams. But if I had to come to a conclusion right now, who won this trade? It's got to be Milwaukee. It's got to be Milwaukee. Glad it's finally over, though. I do have this. I'm glad we can finally check this off the list because, this really dragged on. Then we have a trade that was a little bit more surprising. Sort of came out of nowhere. It was announced before the Giannis trade. Julius Randle, part of a 3-team trade. He will be heading to Brooklyn. Okay. So this is not a good look, because when you boil it down, you come to the realization that, Minnesota traded one of their franchise cornerstones, now NBA champion Karl Anthony Towns. Minnesota traded that guy for basically Dante DiVincenzo. And that, when you frame it like that, then it gets ugly. Like Tim Connolly, I don't know where you're going with this, but this is something that I wasn't expecting, unless, I was expecting Julius Randle to get dealt if it was for Giannis, but I was not expecting him to be a salary dump. Obviously now they're going to re-sign Io, so that's a plus. But when you get into the nitty gritty here, they basically traded. So Randle is going to Brooklyn, Nick Claxton is going to Chicago, and they are trading their picks this year. The 28th pick of Minnesota is going to Brooklyn, and the 33rd pick is going back to Minnesota. They move back 5 spots. And I think that's the entirety of the trade, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, very, very odd trajectory for Minnesota. I don't know if another move is coming. John Morant, question mark, I don't know. But I can't imagine that Anthony Edwards is going to be a big fan of this. Again, I'm not a fan of Julius Randle either. I get the pros and cons with him. But again, to just sort of salary dump him in this way after 1 year, right? He's only been in Mini for 1 year, right? I find that a bit puzzling. And listen, if you're Brooklyn, you now have MPJ and Julius Randle hoops. Okay, I guess. Can you imagine that MPJ? Maybe they find a trade for him. And the Bulls add Nick Claxton. That's a pretty underrated addition. If they draft Caleb Wilson, that's going to be a slim, slender front court. But it's going to be, I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think that could be fun. But yeah, that Randle for Towns trade is not aging well. It is not aging well. But hey, at least Naz Reid gets to start now. That's pretty cool. Trae Young signed a new deal with the Wiz of Washington. Good for Trae. Is he worth it? What was the exact figure? $212 million for 4 or 5 years. What does it say here? It's a max. I'm not seeing anything. But, oh yeah, 4 years. It says right here. My bad. Yeah, bit hefty. A bit hefty for Ice Trae, in my opinion. But listen, the Wizards can afford it. They don't have to. They've got a lot of rookie contracts as of right now, and who else were they going to pay? Right, like that's part of the reason you guys traded for Trae is, to acquire a former All-Star like that, and they sort of bought low on him, and now they're gonna try to make this work. What happens with Anthony Davis? I have no idea. I don't know if he's gonna get his extension. I don't know if he's gonna play 30 games next year. I have no clue. But yeah, I guess, Trae, he bet on himself and it paid off. So we'll see what the Wizards are looking like next year with likely AJ. Oh yeah, this was another sort of interesting as far as the aftermath is concerned of this Giannis saga, Jaylen Brown and Boston, it's looking like trouble in paradise. It's looking like that relationship is not going to be repaired. I don't know. I don't know what the trade is, though. I don't know what a Jaylen Brown trade looks like now. Does Minnesota make a run for him? I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure, but have the Celtics reached a point of no return with Brown? Yeah, I probably, Jaylen has been, doing his live streams. He was racing Noah Lyles the other day for some reason, and he does not seem like a happy camper. He definitely feels, I think, underappreciated. And, I get the vibe that he sort of wants his own team now. Which, whether that's true, I know that the media sometimes blows up those narratives, like, oh, he doesn't want to play second banana or whatnot. But, as far as Jaylen Brown's concerned, I do think he will be traded. But again, I don't know what the destination could be. CJ McCollum signs with the Hawks. This was an interesting one. They also picked up Aaron Wiggins. Because, OKC obviously need to shed some salary. So they ended up getting a decent wing in the process for 2 second-round picks. They re-signed McCollum. He was good for them last year. And yeah, ATL are doing it right. They're doing it right. They're loading up. They're putting the right pieces together, and I think they'll improve next year alongside. They have the number 8th pick. Is that the only pick they have? I'm not actually sure. I think they might. No, do they have another? Oh, they have number 23. Yes, they have number 23 and 8. Both could be traded. But the Hawks are gonna have to be taken seriously next year. They're going about this the right way, and so. But does this pretty much guarantee that they take Mara? Do they need another guard now? I don't know. Walker Kessler, the extension. Will he resign? Will he not? I don't know. It's a weird one right now. It's a weird one. I think the Lakers are sort of licking their chops at this one. The Lakers will definitely be interested as soon as they re-sign Austin Reeves, LeBron. Who knows, dude? Who knows? LeBron is on his boys' trip right now. 2016 reunion. And then Jalen Suggs, also a trade candidate, I think, in Orlando. Trey Murphy. New Orleans has apparently lowered their asking price for Trey. I don't know what New Orleans are doing. As a franchise, I don't know what their direction is. Apparently, a lottery pick can now get it done for Trey Murphy, which is like, really? Like they would be willing to trade Trey Murphy for the number 8 pick in the draft, so they'd basically getting their own pick back. But they shouldn't have traded that pick in the first place for Derek Queen, and it's a very odd. That franchise operates in an odd way. And with Trey Murphy, I don't know. I don't know what the ideal situation for him is, but knows? And Kawhi's planting some trees. Okay. So, we're going to see what happens on draft night later today. I don't doubt that there will be at least one or two trades. And, who's going to move up, who's going to move down, who's going to, what prospect is going to fall, who's going to rise into the top 10. I think we're going to see some surprises. So, we'll just have to wait and see, right? That's kind of how that works.